Hello again, my name is Chef Jim. I'm the regional chef for Intuit. And today I'm going to show you guys how to make a classic Spanish rice dish right here in my backyard. Simple ingredients that you can put in there year-round, seasonally. It's going to be great, and you'll see how to do it just like I do here at home.
Now, the variations on ingredients for paella can be just about anything seasonally, regionally, locally. Today we're making a wild mushroom and chicken paella. Very basic recipe with all the fundamentals with wild mushrooms that were foraged professionally in the area that I live in and then dehydrated, and then we rehydrate them. So I'm going to show you all the ingredients. The basics we start off with, for any paella, usually traditionally in Spain, you got beautiful saffron, very perfumey, got a lot of aromatic qualities to it right now, and then some sort of short grain rice. There's special rice for paella. It's a very small short grain, as you can see. You can use risotto or arborio rice, which is what I'm using today. Have that at my local market. But then you can also order Spanish rice online as well. So let's check it out. So we got our fresh organic chicken here. We've got some homemade chicken stock. And then from the mushrooms, I'll talk to you about that. We'll go over here real quick. So the mushrooms look like this when they're dry. These are actually porcinis and morels. And what I did this morning is I just put a little hot tea water on top of them, and look at how they opened up. Beautiful morels, they're nice and soft and pliable now. Look at that, porcini. So I'm gonna slice these up a little bit, add them to the paella today, give them some flavor. So this is the liquid that came from the mushrooms. That was just water in those mushrooms, and they soaked for about 6 hours. And then I chilled them out, strained it, brought the stock up to a boil. I'm gonna use that along with some homemade chicken stock as our liquid. Salt, olive oil, some sort of white wine, dry Chardonnay works really nice for this to deglaze the pan. So we're gonna sear the chicken, have lots of bits. I've got a little piece of ham here, just a little bit left over, probably from Easter or something like that. April, yeah, right around then. And I'm gonna use that as kind of a smoky note, add a little backbone to the flavor. As far as our seasonal vegetables here, we have some fresh squash, the Mexican variety of green squash, and then the yellow. I'm gonna finish with a little rapini or broccoli rabe on top. That's gonna look really cool. And then our aromatics, of course, are the onions and garlic. Touch of chili flake for a little wake me up, and some fresh cumin. These are all the ingredients that we're gonna need to make our paella today. So let me get these all chopped and ready to go into our layers of flavor. And I'll show you how to cook it on our paella burner outside. What a center of attention. Wonderful smoked paprika straight from Spain. Also another backbone flavor I forgot to mention earlier. I ordered this online. It's kind of a huge can, but you can get just smoked paprika at your local market. Fresher the better. The stuff from Spain though has a really great pungent flavor too. All right, let me chop here, then we'll get outside and start cooking. All right, now we're gonna do a run through of the ingredients once again after the prep. So we had all these vegetables and spices and meats all in their whole form. Now I want to show you what they look like all chopped up. So this is a wild mushroom and chicken paella that we're making. Again, this can vary, whatever you want to put in there. I took the chicken, I broke it down into 8 pieces, cut them up a little bit more. So I got about 10 or 12 pieces of chicken in there. I included the backbone because why not? It's going to cook in the same amount of time, as you'll see a little bit later. Seasonal squash, a little rapini, chicken stock, there's the mushroom stock, extra virgin olive oil, a couple different types of onions. Here's the white wine that we're going to use to deglaze to make sure we get all those juicy bits off the bottom. A little bit of peppers for color and flavor. Of course, those always add a little tang to it. I added some tomatoes that I had laying around that were starting to get soft, so they're going to go in right at the end. There's a little bit of cherry. These are organic cherry tomatoes that I bought at the store, and then a nice ripe tomato I had left over from sandwiches, so that's going to go in too. Fresh herbs to garnish. That one's cilantro, kosher salt. There's those wonderful. You guys have a mushroom guy? I got a mushroom guy. His name's Mr. Pete. He is a hobby forager, and he travels all over Northern California to find the best spots to pick morels and porcinis in the peak of their season, and then he preserves them by dehydrating, and he shares with his friends. So I'm happy to be friends with Mr. Pete, the mushroom guy. This is going to be awesome use of his wonderful hobby. Here we have fresh cracked black pepper and the rice we talked about earlier, saffron, chili flake, cumin, sliced garlic, green onions to finish. That smoked ham is going to give us a little kick. And then I took that wonderful pimentone, that smoked paprika, and put it in my fancy. Look how fancy this is. It's an old spice jar, but what I like about it is it's got the shaker here, if I can get it off with one hand. There it is. Got the shaker on there so it's easy to distribute. These are all the ingredients that are going in our paella. Next step is to get outside, get that burner fired up, and cook you some paella.
All right, here we go with the finishing, actually the beginning, starting of the paella. So first we got our paella pan really hot. I'm gonna add a good amount of oil here because we're gonna sear our chicken. So you can see it's smoking. You wanna get the pan evenly coated with oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. So don't get it too hot, because if you burn the extra virgin olive oil, you're gonna ruin the flavor of it. You don't wanna do that. You wanna get it nice and hot so you get a good sear on the chicken. That's the whole idea of it. Okay? You want to spread these out as evenly as possible. Give them a little bit of space. You don't want to overcrowd the pan, so you won't get any caramelization. Okay, so we're going to sear all this chicken, get a good brown on it. Okay. So it's already been seasoned with salt, pepper, and a little bit of that pimentone, that Spanish smoked paprika. So the idea here is to get a good little bit of caramelization on it, seal in the juices. We're gonna pull it off as it gets brown and put it on a separate pan. Then we're gonna build our flavors as we go from there. So I'm gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna meet up with you guys in a little bit. All I'm gonna do is keep it at a high heat, keep it turning it until it's nice and crispy and brown, pulling it off, and I'll bring you back in and we'll pass a little bit of time. And we're back. So we have our chicken seared off to a nice golden brown. We have nice little juicy bits of stuff in here. We definitely want to preserve that. I'm going to add the ham that we had that we showed earlier to this to give it a little smoky, but I want to brown it a little bit, get some of that fat off of it just a little bit. But what we're going to do now is we're going to toast off the aromatic sauce. And we're back. So here's what the chicken looks like after we seared it. We got lots of little juicy brown bits in the pan here. We're taking that ham that I said I had a little bit earlier to add a little smoky flavor. We're gonna brown that off a little. Okay, and then we're gonna add our aromatics, toast them off, get them nice and alive and giving us all that good backbone of flavor that we're using to create. So during this whole process, you're gonna have little bits of things collecting on the bottom of the pan. Be careful with your heat here, because you don't want to burn that. If you burn that, it's going to give you a bitter flavor. But if you toast it really nice and we're able to deglaze it, it's going to lend a lot of flavor to the finished product. So the next thing I go in with is onions. All right, we're going to toast them, saute them a little bit until they're translucent. One thing you need to remember, guys, is you need to season your layers to build flavor, okay? So we're going to do that with this layer, a little bit of kosher salt, okay? Now remember, you can always add, but you can't take away. So, be cool, but you want to season each layer to give you that backbone, and it's going to help build the layers of flavor. So I got fresh ground black pepper. We're going to wake up with a little bit of crushed red pepper here, and then the saffron's going to go in. You hear that sizzle? That sizzle sounds a little dry, doesn't it? That's because the oil's been absorbed. Oh, that chili flake's good. I got a little whiff of it. Hey, the perils of outdoor cooking. There's my camera lady, my brave wife. She's got it too. So you can tell it's working. Oh, you can smell it. It's amazing. Look at that. All right, this is going kind of quick, which is fine. Totally fine. This is great outdoor cooking right here. We did this in the house. Everyone would be like, what's going on here? We got that. We're gonna add garlic. I put a lot of garlic. Love it. You toast it right. So this is important. The sauteing part of this is really important because you don't want a raw garlic flavor. You want the nice and toasty sweet flavor of the garlic. So why are we messing around? Let's just go in all in, right? Like this. All in with this. A little bit of cumin. I showed you guys earlier. All right. Get rid of that. Go in and saute this. Add a little more olive oil to it. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Oh man, I wish you could smell it. It's incredible. Yeah, but that chili flake gets it. Anyway, Here we go. Now, you can see it's really browning. It's starting to get a little, really hot. How do you stop the cooking process? I'm gonna add tomatoes. I wanna crush the tomatoes just a little bit, cook them down. We're gonna add wine. We're gonna let that cook down a little bit. But first, before we do that, we wanna toast our rice. We're gonna add all those things to it, but we wanna get our rice in there, get that toasted off. Gives it a little bit of a little cooked flavor. You don't want it to be like raw, starchy kind of thing. So adding the fat to it, you're gonna see this. Look at how it's gonna transform into that amazing thing that paella is. So, this is a great party dish, guys. I mean, when we have family parties here outside, we live in Northern California, it's beautiful weather. We like to cook outside. This whole setup might look really intimidating. This is just something you can buy at Bass Pro Shops or online. The paella pan itself and the burner, I mean, we're talking about less than $150 for everything. I bought it in pieces, but you can use this for crawfish boils, shrimp boils, crab boils. This is actually a turkey fryer. So it came with the pot and all that other stuff. So I use it for Thanksgiving. I use it during different times of the year for parties. So not fancy equipment. Very attainable for your home use. And like I said, I like to cook outside. It gets hot in California sometimes in summer, so we don't want to cook in the house. So what do? I mean, I've done bacon and eggs outside, guys, right outside my back door. Little propane tank, so awesome. So if you zoom in a little bit, you can see the grains have a little toast on them there. So before they get into the burning seats, it's starting to get a little hot. I'm going to add the juice of the tomatoes. Let that start to deglaze the pan. It's going to scrape up all the juicy bits a little bit just to cook the raw tomato flavor out of it. All right, and now we're going to add a splash of wine. Let that cook down. All right, just a splash. Oh, wow, that aroma. I'm sure my neighbors are jealous right now. It's okay though. They're gonna want to come over, but 6 feet only. It's okay. All right, so what you want to do here is you want to let the wine cook the alcohol out of it. You want the flavor of the wine, not the alcohol part. So if it's too what we call boozy, you need to cook it a little bit longer. And this rice is going to take a little bit of time to cook. So that's the whole idea, is cooking the rice. This is going to get it started. All right, at this point, the wine's simmering, the vegetables are in there. I'm going to put the chicken back in, okay? And it's going to have some juices in there, which is going to lend to the flavor. Okay, see the juices in the bottom there? We want that. That's the flavor right there. All right, so I'm just going to dump that whole thing right back in. And I'm going to spread it out a little bit. While the wine cooks off, this is going to start to steam and create the paella effect. All right, and we're going to add the vegetables to it and the stock, and all of it's going to simmer up together. Okay, without the bees, of course. All right, I'm going to do a little more, touch more salt. At this point, after I add the broth, I'm going to taste it and see where I'm at with my salt content. You don't want to over-season it, but remember, when you're cooking rice, the rice absorbs a lot of it. There's a lot of flavors going on here. You want to make sure you're balanced and very flavorful, which we will. Smoked paprika. We had it on the chicken when we started. Now we're going to hit it again with a good shot of that. Give it that true Spanish flavor. Okay. We're going to add the mushrooms in there right before we add the stock. These are Mr. Pete's famous magic mushrooms, straight out of Northern California woods. Beautiful porcinis and morels. Okay. That's going to add to the flavor of all this stuff here. I'm not going to add soft vegetables like the peppers and the zucchini just yet. I'm going to bring the stock to a boil, put those in there, then we let the whole thing go. All right, so I'm just going to give this a quick stir to incorporate all the spices we just added. You see it's starting to stick. You see it's starting to stick. Now we know the wine's evaporated, okay? Now it's time for the stock. All right, one of the most famous parts of this dish is the crust that it forms on the bottom. So you want it to stick a little bit, but not yet. That's for later. Okay? So I'm going to put the stock in here. We're going to let it sizzle and simmer a little bit. Then we're going to break. I'll I'll come back at the end and we'll add the other things. So let's add the stock. So here's that mushroom stock that I told you guys about earlier. We have about 6 cups of stock going in to 3 cups of rice. Okay. So again, I'm gonna let this simmer. I just killed this whole thing, the cooking process. I just stopped it because that stock, even though the stock is hot, it's gonna stop what sizzle was going on. And now all I'm doing right now is like kind of scraping the bottom, make sure all those beautiful bits get into all this, and make sure everything's incorporated. All right, I'm gonna let this come up a little bit as far as a boil, and then we're gonna add the other vegetables. So we're gonna take a little quick pause here, and then come back with the rest. So we got a nice rolling boil here. So with these paella burners, you got to be careful. You either got to use tongs or and a towel, because these handles do get hot. But you want to rotate it every so often, whether you're doing this on an open flame or a burner, just to make sure that it's cooking evenly. We got a nice boil here. You can see it's simmering. I'm going to turn it down. But first, I'm going to add these vegetables. So I got some bell peppers, and these are summer squash, some Mexican zucchini, and yellow squash. We want to get those feeling the love, get them in the mix a little bit. So we're going to spread those around. Just give them a quick stir-zy. All right, just working the outside into the center. All right. We turn it down, and this is going to simmer for about 20 minutes. Another important note, make sure the chicken's submerged. That's how it gets cooked, okay? The sear is a real important part of it. But when you're doing this part, it's uncovered, so you want to make sure. I've already tasted this. I've already adjusted for seasoning a little bit. So we're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes. I'm going to turn it down, make it a nice little smile, as the French say. Smile. The pot's just a little bit of boil trickling in. And that's where you know it's going to simmer real nice. All the rice grains are going to be cooked. The chicken's going to be fully cooked. Then we finish with all the fresh herbs and the broccolini. And then I'll show you how to put it up. But before that, I'll bring you back, show you what it looks like when it's finished cooking. So we're about 15 minutes in here. You can see the bubbles kind of starting to slow down. All right, we want to let it go for about another 10 minutes. And what happens here is it's evaporating all the moisture. You can see the rice granules. They're about cooked. The chicken's going to be fully cooked. The vegetables are already cooked. So we're going to let all that evaporate, and we want that classic crust on the bottom. So when you start to hear it crackle, you know that the liquid has been evaporated. And then you let it set for a little bit, and let it rest when you pull it off, and then you go ahead and eat it. When you get what you have then at the bottom is a wonderful crust of rice. It's going to be really flavorful. It smells amazing out here. My neighbors have been coming over saying, "What are you guys cooking out there?" And I said, "Nothing, move along." Anyway, when it's finished, I'm gonna pull you guys back in. So this is the point where you can hear the crackle. You gotta cook with all your senses, especially your ears. You can hear it crackling on the bottom there. It's sticking to the bottom, but you wanna make sure it doesn't burn. When you look at how much liquid is left versus what we had in there, we're ready. So I'm gonna turn this off. I can smell it, it's ready. I'm gonna let it rest for at least 15 or 20 minutes. Some people recommend covering it with foil to let it continue to steam. Some people don't, so you can do whatever you want. I'm gonna let it rest, open air, let all the rice absorb the liquid. I'm gonna actually turn it off right now. Let all the rice absorb the liquid, then it'll be ready for plate up. We'll add our fresh herbs, and dinner is served. There we go. Chicken and wild mushroom paella right in my backyard. You can do this. Look how amazing it is. You can put whatever you want in the same technique, same ingredients. You can mix it up with all the proteins and herbs you want. It smells so good. Can't wait to eat dinner. Hope you enjoyed our video today. Looking forward to the next one.